Welcome back out to beautiful, hot, sunny, and windy Lake Mead, Nevada. Today we're going to look at the record summer we had around the lake, the new water level projections for 2025, and some unfortunate events that occurred since we've been away. And stay tuned because we have a breaking update to one of our previous stories today. So let's jump right in. It's been a long, hot summer and the Mojo crew's been together with our feet on the dashboard, just trying to escape the southern Nevada heat. We've been away exploring many historic sites, some quite alive with the rugged spirit of the West, and others very much abandoned. If you're a fan of our adventure episodes, we're going to have a lot of interesting history and documentaries coming up on the channel as we branch out and try some new content. For now, let's get back down to the lake, where we just couldn't stay away long enough to escape the summer heat. Indeed, well through August, Las Vegas and Lake Mead were still experiencing high temperatures in the 110s, not quite yet capping off an already historic summer on the weather books. Just check out some of these figures. Back on July 7th, Las Vegas set a new all-time recorded high temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This year had 35 consecutive days at or above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, breaking the old record of 29 days. And this year also had the most consecutive days at or above 115 degrees Fahrenheit, with 7 days. The old record was 5 days. Official temperatures have been recorded at the Las Vegas airport and date back to 1937. If you recall from the last update at the start of summer, I reported some sources were predicting a hotter than normal summer this year, citing the end of an El Nino and the beginning of a La Nina. Other people raised concerns over whether the cloud seeding studies we covered in our previous videos may have contributed to a so-called whiplash effect, one that experts thought we may have dodged earlier this year. Either way, managing resources, land, and reservoirs seems to be increasingly difficult considering all the changing factors the USBR faces now, and the pace at which they adapt. One of the most recent adaptations, for evaporated losses, was just figured into the river usage nearly 100 years into the compact, and that was shown to account for 10% of the yearly river flow. This is just one of the several problems that look to be formally addressed by the USBR in 2026 going forward. In the meantime, the USBR has been fairly spot on with their water level outlooks lately, and despite the record southwest heat and demand challenges, they've been able to keep reservoir levels right around where they predicted earlier in the year. In regards to that, we also have a brand new 2-year outlook from the USBR today that we're going to share in a moment. First, let's take a look at where those lake levels are at today. Lake Mead is currently sitting right near 1,063 feet above sea level, just a foot lower than our last report back at the start of summer. The capacity fell one click from 34% to 33% full. Over the last several weeks, Lake Mead was actually recovering from the yearly drop that started back in March at 1,076 feet above sea level. Lake Mead is currently around a foot and a half lower than the same time last year, and around 21 feet lower in elevation than 5 years ago. As of this report, current inflows to Lake Mead total just over 122% of average for the water year. Outflows to California, Arizona, and beyond now total 92% of the required yearly minimum release, due by October 1st, which is rapidly approaching. And if we take a look at the weekly release rates, Lake Powell upstream had an average outflow of 12,300 cubic feet per second, while Lake Mead downstream was only releasing 7,900 cubic feet per second. Despite this, Lake Powell was still continuing to rise while Mead was sinking. Taking a look upstream at Powell today, the water elevation sits at 3,581 feet above sea level, a foot higher than last report after some nice summer gains. Last year, the USBR was predicting a rise of 20 to 50 feet at Lake Powell through early July, and it looks like they were right on the money as the reservoir ended up gaining around 30 feet in elevation this year. Lake Powell is now 5 feet higher than this same time last year, but around 20 feet lower than 5 years ago. The USBR still looks to be prioritizing Lake Powell over Lake Mead due to the engineering and environmental considerations we've covered in previous updates. We still await the final decisions on what the future may hold for the Glen Canyon Dam. Back down at Lake Mead, we have a breaking update to a story we did earlier in the year, the case of the REDSTONE toppling. Many of you were interested in this case where visitors were recorded toppling rocks on a protected trail inside the park.
Fuck, he's gonna fall.
I'll leave a link to the video if you need to get caught up. At the end of August, the Park Service announced that the U.S. Marshals had arrested 2 individuals and that they have a trial date set for October. It turns out they were also locals from outside the lake in Henderson, not tourists as many suspected. Nevertheless, like I suggested in that video, if you want to go push over rocks or dig holes looking for gems and minerals like we do, just do it outside the park boundaries on public land. This was just pure idiocracy and one of the reasons we avoid parks now. Many of our major parklands are now overcrowded, understaffed, and the lands are not being taken care of properly. That is a video for another time though. Meanwhile, on the water, a busy summer and increased visitation led to the expected increase in incidents around the lake. But Lake Mead is not like any other lake or reservoir. The park stands in a class of its own, holding the unfortunate title of the deadliest parcel of land managed by the National Park Service in all of America. And it's not even close. If you want to delve into those figures, just check out our Deadliest Park video. The events of this summer unfortunately look to keep Lake Mead at the top again, and the Park Service even reports that this could be the deadliest year in history. As of making this video, sadly there have been 20 lives lost at the park this year alone. The most recent, a paddleboarder and local family man named Gregory Bell, I even tried to help locate. Greg was paddleboarding with his group near sunset when a wild storm kicked up over the lake and they got separated in the ensuing panic.
58-year-old Greg Bell was paddleboarding at Lake Mead with his wife and 4 others Saturday night when high winds knocked them into the water.
They started trying to paddle back to shore, and then that's when the storm kind of hit and they all started getting separated and flipped off. My mom got flipped off her board, and she said at that point she was just like screaming for help.
The other 5 paddleboarders were able to make their way to shore, but Greg is still missing.
Days later, after his family and local groups searched relentlessly for him, Greg was unfortunately recovered near the Boulder Harbor area. Our condolences go out to his wife and children, who by all accounts will miss a great father, husband, and community member. This event prompted another Boulder City local named Bart to put together a volunteer boater safety program aimed at teaching people coming to Lake Mead the basic skills and equipment they need to survive out on the water.
This should have never happened. With nobody. There's no age limit to wearing life jackets. I see children without life jackets swimming in the lake. It's dangerous. Lake Mead is a beautiful place, but it's still Mother Nature.
We met up with Bart and so did the local news, park rangers, and other boaters. It was quite a positive event to come out of a negative one. Bart is planning on continuing the volunteer safety program when he can and urges everyone to get involved. We are hoping to do a quick video with Bart in the future and share the great information he has, so let us know down in the comments if you want to see what that's all about. Before we close out today, we're also going to take a quick look at the USBR's new water level projections. In the most probable case, the highest level that the USBR projects Lake Mead to reach over the next 2 years is 1,068 feet above sea level, just 5 feet higher than today. That should happen sometime around March of 2026. The lowest that they project Lake Mead to hit is 1,053 feet, about 10 feet lower than where we are at now. Lake Mead should remain well above the historic low of 1,040 feet that we saw during the drought a few years ago, but the reservoir is still only around 33% full. It will be interesting to see if this new report will remain accurate also over the next year despite all the changing conditions we've seen on the river lately. With those figures in mind, the USBR also concluded that the Colorado River Basin will remain under a Tier 1 shortage throughout 2025, meaning Arizona and Nevada will be under the same usage restrictions as this year, a 7% cut to Nevada's normal river allocation and an 18% cut to Arizona's normal allocation. As covered previously, California does not undergo any cuts until 2 levels higher at Tier 2B, which didn't even happen at the height of the Lake Mead drought in 2022. Interestingly enough though, Mexico is also under a 5% cut to their river allocation in Tier 1 along with Arizona and Nevada. This is all mainly due to the old 1922 river compact rights. We'll continue to watch this water situation for you, and in the meantime, I invite you to check out an adventure episode or our B-roll channel for more exciting Southwest destinations and history. Since we know you have a lot of places to get your news and entertainment these days, we want to thank you for spending some of that time here. Special recognition goes out to our Super Thanks viewers, especially frequent floater Sammy Head. And we got Boogie Hugh from last time also. Thank you for all the support again. The Super Thanks are always unexpected but much appreciated, and you folks are what keeps the videos coming and motivate us to make more. If you found this update informative or learned something of value here today, consider giving us a like and subscribing to the channel for more. Don't forget to stop by the Mojo Earthworks shop on Etsy, as we're just getting things added, and we'll even be finishing a couple handmade turquoise pieces soon too for you rockhounds out there. Until next time, make sure you stay hydrated, stay happy out there, and we'll see you soon.